Okay, I'll give roadmap now. I'll finish the first advantage from the 2NC. Then I'll do the turns on the governance advantage. Then I'll do the wildfire add-on wherever you flowed that. And then back to the governance advantage for defense. Okay. Is anyone not ready? Okay. Cyber Vanity 3, no war, no space war, trust conflict turns at Hall 15. Everything's going to do with the ASAC capabilities. I need satellite use source. I send a name of residents preventing motorization. To attack with higher thermal. For one national purpose. A satellite space war. A silent lock all parties incentivized against attacking if it occurred would be a part of a larger conflict on Earth. No retail condition against US leaders against US. Until that's before, and there was no response because I want to escalate. Gray zone optimizer. Ours have been escaped. This was the advantage. Fracking turn. Fracking turn outweighs magnitude extinction level due to combined environmental effects. Ensure the biofreezing and all life on Earth is tried. Only full shut off. Keep the Earth with the planet balance. That's how liquid it has specific concern is which will impact chemical pollution extinction as you 14. There can be a little like limited contamination action through water and mistake contamination through the because we're chemical combating leader by accumulation of effect and emission is for preservation of the species and emission that use rubble earthquakes rising 30 20,000 goodness methane going to accumulate for pollution how to run earthquake the cow what happens was support 10,000 of the world and our some kind of nuclear when the conclusion migration plus funding and over weapons who cause air pollution rise to 33 air pollution make life unstable how upon was all life depends if it's present generation and pollution air pollution damage to human health and environment and turns case environmental cloud rolls back the planet if not diverse funding personnel and already undermines the effect of Veta. Hey, today's gonna be divorced when our world events everything is gonna be external events like the exchange for achieving especially reactions I was on a missile realignment of an supporters including the British specific already can be redacted I summons out of our research personnel climate average marriage supporting company about negative responses patient action force Congress how do many addressing stewardship the satellite loss and global fracking no new one answers is constituted in the 2AC defense associated data to identify geolocate deposits and produce enough efficiency to keep it profitable to reverse causal loss of the industry shutting it down. That's Johnson 2AC1. Yes, it's about an just native satellites or scenarios about collapse of all satellites. 2 AC2 satellites are not inevitable. We've conceded the plan the planet prevents CV cascades which collapse all satellites. You cannot walk that back. 2AC2 is fracking mining good. 1 the card never mentions mining and it's about a US ban on fracking. That's not the turn collapse of global fracking. US ban is not responsive to 2. It's there's only our offense fracking is unstable will inevitably collapse. McLean 18 fracking of foundation has unstable money going and never come out. A second bit of during enough cash coverage for the fracking. Well, show us sleep on already 69% and this version 85 and 3 fracking. It's not hard to make a minutes enough at the .com investment. Our purpose are coming out all work until then and most of the things economic unstable eventually come to a better and 3 no energy wars rating 20. Couldn't spot 180 times over share depleted and to Canadian oil gas spots are riven off it all non-escalated wars are causing seas oil face cause invading aggression is and image of short and Congress happens our complication shouting Congress as a company because of cost invasion and appropriate fighting on top good disability no a larger conflict mining satellites enable mining 2 scenarios 1 Amazon loss and siphon of the pollution from mining bioaccumulation and shorting the entire ecosystem that takes out the lungs of the earth killing everything extinction from oxygen will 6 Amazon is along the world it provides more oxygen than the land our destruction is running life on other preservation teams will risk it sparks the nuclear war Tesla 96 destruction of the Amazon could rapid changes global powers ag remains heavily dependent on stable climate extinction in Amazon but have entertained families which enabling humans to be being spread to famous to the thermonuclear war which can extinguish civilization 2 in Antarctica mining disrupts ADS peacekeeping increases likelihood of nuclear and disruption of Antarctica extinction without escalation robots at 10 climate effects ever conflict with severe models of nuclear state prevent nuclear water and points of conflict have potential true up suddenly and loss of satellite shutdown terrestrial mining drops into sea means no new one answer it's too difficult to find mines without satellite data have they analyzed the soil to look at deposit the operation will grind to hold if as company said if a completely reachable and they'd have to revert much load and shipment to field service without GPS Johnson 2AC4 generic environment is not going to save you we're running external service to the environment but defense is not super is one fracking new it's a new technique that's unique threat to bypass defense because the combination of attacks would ruin all aspects of the ecosystem the scope is also global so it's not contained to mining Amazon's specific environmental impacts that overcome defense because of their nuance and difficulty to counter those I'll move on to the wildfires add-on wildfire is that a ridiculous one. That's not key. Lorenzo cites drones AI. Another emerging tech though will solve wildfires too. No impact creep. Number 6 extinction or the wildfires prevent warming, which is not, which is the line they mentioned. The turtles larger and turtle 2 warming the governance advantage of solar fire scenario makes 0 since 1. Suddenly lost one on cause flash crashes. The system don't need them know. When I see if says they 2 no great power war drones won't cause no. The weapon is automated 3 tech solve the new evidence is the technology will prevent the solar force impact they rely on, which results all the great collapse. So if the vanilla, but it's also answers all other scenarios. It's segmented. There's no risk of clap to the grid. I'll go back and read the card under the defense. No resiliency, Brodowski. 12. Equal to shift. I probably want to force across the critical flash for the global. He gives him that whole coming back. A possibility of tipping wood. Highlights the need room for a gas global forcing mechanisms better population resource conducted energy climate. All exceed the most recent shift towards but will continue magnitude forcing are much greater than the lights bubble that you seem high critical flash were reached by to spread loss of life would result. Chain anything else? 15. Okay. Yeah. Turns large internal link to the wildfire's impact.
Sorry. Before 1 hour prep, do y'all mind if I go to the bathroom?
You're good.
Thank you.
Arthur's also going to the bathroom. What? To be clear, I'm not prepping.
Sorry about that. I'm good.
Okay, you're good. 610. Stop prep 334 use. So we have 245 left. Sending out a dock. Okay, I hope that's the right one because I have a bunch of different 1ARs in this round folder. Yeah, so the order is the cyber advantage, the domain awareness advantage, the EU counter plan, and then the league counter plan.
Sorry, could you please repeat that?
Yeah, cyber advantage, domain awareness advantage, EU counter plan, League of Nations counter plan, or League of Democracies. Everyone good? Cyber attacks on ASAS causes nation overwhelming ambiguity, states asset presumption, escalation, accusation to other countries, nuclear as a galley there. Defense is wrong. Yes, attacks are coming now. You have dropped our governance, interlink with peace. We solve all of these causes, but the Harbor evidence says the cyber attacks are like soft underbelly that Russian kind of tested kinetic attacks and they don't want to do it because cyber is a lower operational threshold to the earth for the Harbor evidence as well as the Albin evidence. It also says they demonstrated intent, but again, that solves all these causes, which means they don't have to answer them as for the drop internally because it's all debris removal, which is the link to the turret. Space defense is also wrong. You dropped the hiding for the Tracy that says that non-kinetic attacks are uniquely likely to escalate. Our scenario is not space war, but allied retaliation. Mutual uncertainty is a reason that both countries use their capabilities to the maximum because they don't know how war is going to occur. You'll drop the fodder. Evidence says it's an evolving risk. It'll continue to increase. Now it outweighs everything else. Far Cordal 17 since making the atmosphere towards sunlight, global cooling of the last active such nuclear winter drop in temperature 8 degrees. Only possible gas of Russia. Small nuclear war unlikely to lead to extinction. Our solar system you can come from a company gas of Russia. Now it also outweighs the environment on time frame in terms of because war would annihilate the US and destroy it completely. Now the governance advantage, they draw space debris, which means debate 101. You cannot govern impact turn without impact defense space debris causes siege collision of debris. And then the LEO makes that how they cause international occur comes after the crisis that stirs so the state knows stuff I'll do at the top. Yes, they say yes. Want to beat the dead horse on this in cross they agreed to Brussels agreed to Stratcon, Swindon, etc. which prove that they will agree to the AFS initiative to Van Bruggen. Now it says the AFS is popular. It says that they agreed to space initiatives and there's a consensus on the threat environment. The AFS the TCBM, not unilateral. For the lower end is 3. Turkey, here's a card. Gable 22. Erdogan, TSA roadmap for coordinating Turkey's vision strategy, goals and politics. Space Erdogan, non-failed turns to national cooperation. Speak with SpaceX about cooperation on satellites, not the satellites. Turn the plans key to it. Base 18 planet describes observation. Satellite monitoring to predict changes and fixes problems. Satellites help to the future Earth observation. Vital for directing climate policy. Vital there. Our planet survival now. I would lie my line all the impacts but they're all laughable. You cannot bid on earthquakes or air pollution or oxygen from 1996 with a straight face. The only real one's chemicals. It's wrong. Craven and Kaza. 18 excessive chemical pollution in atmosphere. Air solidity incident to boundaries down for the planet. Poison ourselves to extinction. That nature increasing what they tend to include with the air and water. Reduce economies or cycles like decline. Pollutions are so widespread and consequences local accidents are so immediate. Reasonable to governments to act before we reach an eco catastrophe. You also drop the tax laws, which is more in the melee evidence, which means that fracking and mining are likely good for the environment or they're decreasing their environmental impact. We will also concede that fracking is unsustainable because it's not profitable. It'll decline inevitably and satellites are relevant to it, but there's no internal link to this stuff. There's no reason fracking causes global environmental degradation, but the plan solves it. To 20 years, such that greatly to environmental degradation as well as scale. EPA 16 indicators of environmental health, air, biodiversity, natural resources, and pollution, finding strong collision between wealth and environmental performance. Capital's country high environmental standard attack. You're leaving the burden on the environment, living longer please on a clean planet. Capital could be clear that free countries highest environmental performance with 2077.1 accounting. Free countries all score less than 50 tipping points. Answers the last card they read. 18 tipping points are fatally flawed. Global extinction rate is undefined. PET boundaries to be for catastrophes. Even though it's an arbitrary nature, PB as no incident evidence are too vague for promote pernicious policies. EU counterplan. You're losing on Kono like Whitney Young did because you dropped it in the block unless Arthur and I just both spaced out for 13 minutes. Kono's a vetting issue. 1. Quality debate. No cost. Options to search often start testing. leaping out, choose fairness, systemic coefficient, multiple contracting positions, teach strategy to resolve, and can't revert to size field featured. The counterbalancing is worth it. Anything else allows the app to delete alpha offense, the no offense, and the tuner does not get new answers. League of Nations Cameron at the top environment defense also applies here, and the plan solves net benefit, but the turn does apply. You said that Nigeria is a democracy now. That means that they're included in the policy. The Ray Evans says that it causes state collapse, forcing them to participate in the League of Nations, causes them to democratize, causes citizen protest against the government, causes extinction for sure. Two and C did not have defense, and they cannot go over this in the 2 hour. Now, Volt's evidence solvency deficit is excellent. You just do not have specific evidence that the new alliance cannot solve. One, its perception NATO is necessary for the perception of deterrence, even if the counterplan competent most of it is not sufficient because it says a new alliance will not get allied buy-in. Two is delay. Uno 19, timing visual spheres here's the timing by intercepting adversary jeopardies applies for single jamming capability of all cyber operations. Now, permutation into the plan and create the cooperation. It is not functionally intrinsic because it takes out of the function of specifying what the democracy does, which means that we don't violate their theory stuff. One is after fairness, national competition necessitated by exterior word based on process come the counter result by resulting in the plan. Two is blocker cycling terms that test competitiveness of both tax and function force at key points with intrinsic internal links. They're quite literally infinite processes, net benefits, and internal net benefits they can read against any app. They say net ground, they say causes, comments, and country picks are good. Drop that those are bad. You are giving yourself way too much baggage to this. Causes, comments cannot solve the F and country picks are bad because it's impossible to have 30 factorial deficits. But this permutation doesn't necessarily limit them out because it's not functionally or textually illegitimate, but are often outweighed because they draw functional limits on topicality. Permutation gaining is also just a hypothetical with zero actual warrant for this, but advantage Hamlet, as long as you have a link to the app, you could have read neat or bad as a net benefit this counter plan, and it's solved. Vagueness is not an issue. This card is just citing a quote from Senator McCain, but the answer is that Davenport Ave says it solves. Davenport 19, however, might help to the appearances when a nation dependent can do NATO from time where soldiers near remote mutual security mission and guarantee to respect the EDLs, higher authority in all cases on direct defense of NATO members.
Okay, 422. Counterplan, or League of Democracies, EU. Case, that's advantage 1, then advantage 2. Okay, anyone not ready? Cool. The revitalization of global democracy comes before any impact to the case. The counterplan controls and contains all other existential threats by uniting a coalition of fractured democratic states against ecological collapse, near-term pandemics, the carnage of Russian and Chinese emboldenment. All of those impacts were dropped. All conceded that the environment caused extinction. That's the settlement card that was read. In the 1 hour, there's no other defense, which means it automatically outweighs. Even if you think the counterplan solves none of the case, we still win. There's no specific defense of the counterplan's internal net benefit in the 1 hour, which means you can treat it as a mutually exclusive counterplan that certainly solves extinction versus the moderate risk of the off. I'll use Corlin's words in answering the Nigeria turn. You can't go for an impact turn when you haven't read impact defense 2 or internal net benefit. The Nigeria turn is awful. It says that democracy is already prevalent in Nigeria, and it says that there might be some local instability and some local conflicts, but no evidence that those spill over to other regional conflicts. They've also considered the indict to the impact, the terminal impact card, which does not say that Nigerian instability causes global war or even African war. You can't vote on it. It's not a complete shell, not a complete impact turn. Now, the counterplan solves the app. They say whole of the lines deficit. The only card that's based on is UNAL 1, no line. This evidence about whole of the lines coordination is highlighted. Sorry, the Peninsula got lazy, but you can't evaluate warrants that were not present in cards 2. The counterplan solves. The only real warrant present was about info sharing and deterrence. We've read evidence that the counterplan can solve both. A is info sharing. Jane says the League of Democracies will lower barriers to intel sharing, provide cooperation in cybersecurity that would effectively detect and deter cyber espionage. B is deterrence. They've conceded also the Jane evidence, which says that a consolidation of the League of Democracies will be able to effectively deter through military measures, because it would be functionally the same as NATO, as they would unload their responsibilities to this new League of Democracies. They would also be able to impose economic sanctions, which NATO cannot do, which would more effectively deter Russia and China. They've dropped that, which means it also turns the case. They say no allied bind. This is totally incorrect. They've dropped their evidence. There's renewed interest in it now. Politicians have been outward about the need to forge new alliances of democracies opposed states. Their evidence. There's also no answer to the argument that the U.S. alone is insufficient. So even if other countries say no, we can still win. They cite absolutely no warrants from the card about saying no. If you can't draw a line between the 1AR and the 2AR, and in the 2AR, you can't evaluate it. Framing issue. They've dropped on case that Nordic countries say no because of political will. It's probably not a presumption ballot, but it certainly significantly reduces the risk of the affirmative. Independently winning, even if we win that a 25% risk that Turkey, Denmark, and Norway say no to the plan, solvency for the counterplan should automatically outweigh, because the rest of the plan solvency becomes reduced to nearly 40%. That's a net benefit of the counterplan. It does not operate by consensus, which means that if a country disagrees with collective action, they can opt out. I hate doing debate math, but I wanted to make this very clear. They have to win that their deficits take out 60% of the counterplan solvency to outweigh or say no offense. That's not going to be possible, no matter how good this 2AR is. The functionally intrinsic term, I'm going for deficits. One is that a broad mandate is bad. This was dropped. They have no response to the fact that if the League of Democracies is focused on too broad of deficit and it's not on a specific and narrow mandate, then it will collapse immediately, because they can't focus its attention. They're permissibly labeled to do the app and do the counterplan on broader issues, which we've indicted. Second, it looks like perm to both. The 1AR is biblically tagline essentially without answering the fundamental reasons. NATO cannot just subsume the alliance of democracies. Our 3 cards are better than their 0 cards. Don't grant weight to random assertions from high schoolers talking about international politics. We've read evidence from Professor Fordham, who says the inclusion of NATO into the creation of the alliance of democracies pushes it to a second-tier organization at a time when democracy must come before anything else. They've also conceded the bureaucratic inertia just had. It says that identical effort by NATO means diplomats will abandon the counterplan's league. Is only effective if it's distinct. Officials will just abandon the counterplan if they think that NATO can provide an effective solution to space. And they've also conceded the divide and conquer decide. It says that China and Russia would play spoiler to the alliance of democracies if it does not supplant NATO from the outset. Now, EU. Condo is not dropped. Please flow through in the future. Aptus fairness best. It was dropped. 1 is holistic testing, because this said they're untenable. Simultaneously reading counterplans, which trust the agent process, and internal links to the app. Eliminate affirmatives which do not have defenses of each, limiting the topic to a manageable size. Second is app sandbagging, having multiple options live for the block allows a neg to make strategic decisions without needing to be an oracle who can see the future. They've conceded that strat skew is inevitable because of other decisions like DT, dissets, and framework case. They've also dropped that there's no definitional consensus, so for dispose, you can't vote on it. Now, the say no stuff. I'm mainly going to focus on the Nordic countries here, because the 1AR has completely dropped them. We've read evidence that there's no political will in Norway or Denmark, who are key NATO countries, to be able to say yes to the plan. They've also conceded the consensus card. We've read that we've read from NATO, which says that if one country says no, the plan cannot go through. There are no responses to this. There's no political will, because militaries don't want to focus their attention on something else that is not domestic political issues like the Navy. They've also conceded that politicians have no political will, and in the past, policies have been watered down, which means that even if they say yes, the plan will be super small in comparison to what the 2AR will grandstand about. They've also Turkey, I don't care. Okay. Now, the advantage proper. If we win, all causes of satellite destruction and escalation risk of the app goes down severely, making it try or die for democratic consolidation. They zero both advantages. One is non-cyber attacks. One I see payment sites, rendezvous, and proximity operations. That's reason stacks could. They say cyber is a soft underbelly of. They say cyber is a soft underbelly. That's only true of the status quo. But if cyber defenses are shored up, then countries will resort to other things like rendezvous and proximity operations, which would then become the soft underbelly. Second is glitches. They've dropped it. Gelly says bugs will likely crash satellites. Allies won't know what to prepare against, or if those will cause by adversaries, which cause them to lash out. Don't let the 2 error go for the environmental monitoring. Add on 1, all it causes is destroy those stats. And second, monitoring does not guarantee any action. Even if they detect environmental problems, they won't be able to fix them because there's no political will.
We have. Oh, I didn't write it down. Does someone know how much prep we had? It was like 3 something.
It was 240.
243.
244. Let's prep. Order is cyber governance counterplan. Anybody not good? The only question of this debate is whether or not there's a quantifiable deficit to the counterplan. The risk of Allied retaliation to a Russian or Chinese cyber attack outweighs
a nebulous democracy impact on time frame. You're sure that China and Russia are cyber attacking our allies now. What you're not sure on is how much time it'll take in order for a new framework, a completely new league in order to be implemented on the counterplane, or when the environmental impact becomes existential. We have a tried and true terminal impact with a proven internal link chain that happens now. They have read shitty defense through the entire debate. Allied retaliation causes extinction. Russia and China are using non-kinetic cyber attacks to exploit the gray zone of retaliation where our allies aren't clear on whether or not they're allowed to respond. As per the 1AC sorry evidence, you're also sure that these satellites are uniquely vulnerable and allies are going to respond because they're interlocked with NC3 capabilities and dual use military and civilian capabilities, which are the linchpin of allied national security. It's only a matter of time before one of our allies bites the bullet and retaliates. Escalation happens fast and soon and outweighs the environment. A is time frame. They're going for the slowest impacts in the round. Allied retaliation is the fastest scenario to extinction. I did the work for that above. The counterplane tries to solve ecological collapse. There's conceded evidence on the counterplane about delay, and it obviously takes time to create a new organization. Every moment of delay is exponentially bad because allies are more likely to retaliate. Not to mention, they also double down on top of that with the slow environmental impact, which happens years in the future, and definitely you're sure that allied retaliation will happen within the next 5 years because yeah. The defense, they've conceded what the AF does. We've ensured allies don't retaliate. The AF would literally go to every ally and would tell them not to retaliate to any damage to their satellites, wipes out all causes. It solves for our vulnerable cyber defenses. It's the only reason why allies would want to counterattack to a cyber attack now is because of how damaging they can be. It solves the intent and motive behind why allies would want to retaliate. That's the Ogren and Harper evidence. It's a cyber's soft underbelly. None of their defense is about non-kinetic weapons. Either their escalation defense is about kinetic weapons, which is not the scenario, or it's not about allies, and it's about how the U.S. will retaliate. But that's not indicative of allies, which they've conceded are uniquely likely to respond. Governance. Say no is definitely false. They've read tons of arguments about how political will is about is important or other stuff, but that's about Nordic military exercises, not key to space. For any issue that there is no evidence about the logistical cost of the plan or why they would be mad about a space legislation. The AF is just a transparency and confidence building measure with NATO allies that would upgrade their satellites and ensure that their cyber capabilities are up to par. There's no contextualization. Why this costs anything is completely asserted, or even political will on the part of our allies. We are literally going around to them and handing them free shit. No evidence says say no to a space defense agreement is damning. The Brussels summit was an overwhelming victory. The plan doesn't cost anything, and every single one of our allies have already agreed that space in NATO is a huge issue. The 1AC Wilson and Stover evidence also actually says that each satellite generates $900 million in funding for all of our allies. Space is something that all NATO members conclusively agreed we need to shore up our cyber defenses for. They introduced the thesis of the say no argument in the round, so the burden of proof is on to prove that they would actually say no, especially when we have empirics to say no otherwise, which is they conceded Brussels summit. Even if you don't think that's a great empiric, it's the only one in the round. They have no indicative evidence that proves they would say no. Counterplane. We don't need to win a broad deficit to the counterplane. Any risk of the counterplane doesn't solve enough of the AF means a try or die battle for the allied retaliation scenario, which happens faster time frame is your first priority. Existing institutions are uniquely key. There's tons of drop warrants from the Molt evidence. One is motive. Molt the conceded claim that actors are rooted in unilateral traditions from past security frameworks. Established patterns are the most effective way to do any kind of security cooperation. Two is logistics. Star this. It proves the delay argument. Alliances based efforts have huge concerns. Established cost sharing, integration, joint operations, training are already well established within NATO. The creation of a completely new league would take bucket loads of time and require a completely new framework for all of these things to be rewritten from scratch. No specific sovereignty evidence whatsoever other than it deters China and Russia, which was a case turn argument, which is not the AF impact. I'll answer that here. It does not turn cases. Deterrence is not even an internal link to allied retaliation. Our scenario is very clearly not deterrence as per the overview to check aggression. The only scenario for war is allies retaliating against cyber attacks. There's no Russia-China aggression impact, so deterrence is irrelevant. They're turning a non-existent impact. The net benefit is zero. The 1AR does not say environment solves extinction, but you did concede all of our environment defense. One, the AF solves it. Big 7 says that we solve because satellites are a prerequisite to knowing where problems are and how we need to allocate our resources to responding, which means governance is a prerequisite to the counterplan. Two, is Diddleman says that it's necessary for environmental health. Economic benefits are correlated with economic security. Three's tipping points are wrong. They didn't extend a terminal impact, but the Montoya evidence is key. It says it's resilient, not existential. The Bailey evidence from the 2AC is overpowered. It's also dropped, which means that the threshold for the rest of the debate the threshold for the rest of the arguments is on the ground because the net benefit is like -% risk. A heavily mitigated net benefit should matter. The twin R is not extending a theoretical objection to the permutation. It's a mass mistake that mitigates an already dead net benefit for the deficit outweigh. This is not a reason it doesn't solve the net benefit, but it creates a league and cooperates with them on multiple things. This isn't functionally intrinsic because it's functionally less because it doesn't specify the impact. It definitely solves if they're correct about the spillover war and the net benefit, and the solvency advocates for the counterplane advocates for the permutation. There is no threshold for broadness, but the league does specific initiatives in the world of the permutation that aren't space that would spill over to broader league credibility. They have no reason why space specifically is key to league credibility because they don't have fucking specific evidence. Their only hope of potential dissent to the perm is this obey card. That's like a quote from fucking John McCain without an actual warrant. If they're actually addressed the policy proposal in their counterplan solves better because they have the league working on literally everything else that is not the app and the net benefit, which would include AI, biotech, other NATO initiatives like Ukraine. If you think this is sus, the 2R did not extend the theoretical objection. Good debate.
Good debate.
Good debate.
Today, Evan's on the way.
Kardak will be sent in a second. And Kardak sent.
Half Everson. Sorry, the 1AR like Davenport is in the new dog. I forgot to add it.